So we're back, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over the oscillator section, which is the heart of basically any synthesizer. Um, you know, so basically you start out with init presets, and you can drag them around. So what I do is I just drag the init, the fourth one. That's how I work. I drag the initial patch of the any initial patch to like the first one or the one I want to work on, and it completely resets it. And right away, that is saw wave. And what you need to know is that you have your two oscillators per section, right? And then you get a sub oscillator, and then a third oscillator, right, which is right here. It's off right now. So you have 4 oscillators, assuming they're all, simple shapes. So we'll go, I guess, left to right. We'll treat these as the same for now. So what you have is you have your classic saw, and then you move it over, and then you have your square, and then you move this over, and then you have your pulse, which is really fun. And then you kind of down here. So it's like an endless shape. It's kind of like the Moog synths, how you can switch them. I forget what the term is called. I'm an idiot today. Yeah, I'll keep on talking. Endless, no, linear oscillators. Yeah. Okay. Basically, you can switch between a square to a sine wave through a saw, and you can do that just with this one. So once you select down to sine wave, you get a little click down menu here, because you can't adjust the pulse width of a sine wave, which I don't know what that would look like, but you can. So you have this little click down menu, and then you have all of the classic waveforms, right? And you have them all here. Right, and these are waveforms with special harmonics designed by the German guys that made, the Virus A, B, C, Indigo, the Power Core, and yeah, you basically, go through them with your up and down. Right, so there we have like a kind of a weird triangle wave with some nice harmonics, but what we can do is this is still available, so we can kind of smooth them out, and we can make a square wave that has a lot of jiggly jagglies, and that could give us a nice little effect. And then you go down the octaves, if you can hear that. So we have a bass that sounds like a virus, and that's basically how you do it. And we don't have any kind of effects. We have here. I need to turn this up a little bit. Hold on. Sorry. So that's how easy. Right? You add some multiband distortion on that, and you have a dance floor hit. Yeah, but that's basically that's how you use like the kind of the classic waveforms. And before I jump around a bit, you can adjust the sub oscillator. You can add a square wave below that. This is how you select it. You can go triangle or square below it, and you have it really farty. Right. Really simple to use, and there's 64 waveforms. But when you think about it, for every notch you adjust and how you bend it, this kind of creates new waveforms, because this would be different than this, right? Right? Yeah, it's quite exciting. A lot of these are modeled from certain things. I'm not sure what. Don't ask me. I'm not an expert. But yeah, it's pretty exciting that these are there. So there's more than one oscillator mode, which is good. We have our hypersaw, which emulates the supersaw of the Roland JP8080 or the Roland JP8000, and that's taking a bunch of saw waves. The original only had 8. Now we'll just do that. Okay, so you just take a bunch of saw waves, and then they're all stacked up on each other, like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to detune them so they move apart, and you'll hear that now. Listen to this. Right? And that's basically, and that only takes one voice, I believe. That's the sound of the early 2000s kind of trance thing. And you can have 2, which I sometimes do. That's the hypersaw in a nutshell. There's another way to do this, is you just take classic saw, right? And then you just unison it up. And you can do that with any shape. I think this is a little too loud now. Yeah, you can do that with any shape. So onwards to the wavetable. Now this wavetable, the difference between the classic wavetable is their alias. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's kind of like the jaggies you see on a DVD, in a nutshell. And you can adjust the I forget what that is, but you can adjust the different kind of the timbre of each of them. So we'll pick vanish, right? Right, it's a very, very siny oscillator, and then you can adjust it. So he's basically taking this special waveform and then doing magic to it, basically. This is still an enigma. I've had it for a year, and it's still an enigma. It astonishes me every time I use it. So, oops, each one of these wavetables would be, each one would be like 6 or a dozen oscillators. And then used in conjunction with Oscillator 2, you get some neat kind of effects. Right, but notice you lose the ability to have a sub-oscillator because these aren't really synthesized wave shapes. It's different, and it's kind of hard to explain. I've read the manual twice, and it explained it, but that's basically where my mind goes out the window. You have your wavetable, yeah. Then you have your wave pulse width modulation. So you still have the same wavetables generated by the virus, but you can adjust the pulse width of them. You can adjust it so much that the oscillator goes silent. So if you're into dubstep, you can adjust this to you can attach this to an LFO, and you get some wacky sound. Yeah, just an idea. Yeah, but basically, yeah. In the next part, you have your detune. The 2 waveforms you can separate into left and right, and then detune them slightly. And then the interpolation, I'm not quite sure what that does. Yeah, and you get some neato sounds. The grain synthesis, it does something to the formats, which is the changes in the subtle changes the subtle transients within the waveform. So there's a simple mode and then the complex mode. You spread the formats. Yeah. I've used this for quite a few bass lines. Kind of sounds like a phone with a bass line attached, which is nice. And then you have, which is a different. It's the same one as the grain, but you adjust the formats by themselves. And it creates like intense textures. I'm sure a lot of the dubstep guys uses way better than I do, and it's kind of a secret weapon, I should say, on how they get them. They get these weird sounds that kind of talk, but it's not with the Bronner tube on the massive. Yeah, and the thing you need to know, there's the complex and the simple mode, because the complex eats quite a bit of your voices. Basically, the virus has 50 voices, and you can get to the point where you overload it, and it can't handle the audio it needs to process. So say if you have like 4 of these stacked up, and you have all these grain synthesis engines going, and you have the FM of one going into the other, it just gets too much, and you get something called note stealing, where one part will steal notes from the other one, and it's really weird. The one way you can do that is to stack viruses, like actual get hardware, and then just use as much as you need. Oops, sorry about that. I would love to see someone have more than one virus and just create, a huge sound. Yeah. So those would be all the oscillator, the synthesis engines. There's quite a bit. There's 8, if I can count. But we'll stick with classic for now, because that's probably the easiest to kind of learn. We are going to move away from this section and go into the oscillator common section, which is I use for FM. So what I can do is I can silence oscillator 1, move this to oscillator 2. So we have our square wave, but then we can frequency modulate oscillator 2 with oscillator 1 with this knob here. And then we can bring the pitch down. So this is we'll sine wave it. This is modulating this. So it adds some nice kind of Native Instruments FM8 sounds. And then you can adjust there's an easy kind of envelope for it here. And the velocity can be attached to the pulse width. And the initial phase. And you can sync them. And you get that nice hard sync sound. And what you can also do is you can have the FM source could be in the left. So my voice right now could be modulating or frequency modulating the square wave, or another virus, or say another hardware synth could be doing that, and that could be rather intense. So yeah, basically, yeah, there you have it, your oscillator 1, your oscillator 2, with a basic rundown of the frequency modulation section, and the initial phase, how the phase of each interacts with the other. They'll have different start times. Maybe it'll start here or here. Just depends. You have to play. You have to kind of play around with it. So we're gonna go to oscillator 3 now, and you can basically have another sub oscillator, and you can bring this down 12, or you can just plop a sine wave. You hear that low end? There you go. Yeah, and that's another. You can use that as a sub oscillator. It'll always be a little bit lower than the initial kind of thing. So what we'll do is we'll turn off the FM. Oops. Right. Yeah. So we'll turn off the third oscillator. Moving, I guess, down. Unison, you already seen me use it. That's basically splitting the stereo signal and then detuning. It's basically taking this part and then splitting it in half, and then slightly detuning each part, so you get a nice kind of spread. It's taken from like rock, where you record one guitar. You record the same guitar riff twice, and they're close, but they have their subtle differences in each, and different, the strings vibrate. Obviously, they'd be different for each recording, and then you slap one hard right, slap one hard left, and then there you have it. You have kind of like a detune, and it's an easy. It sounds better than just slapping a chorus on it, and that's what they used. If you want to learn, well, if you want to know what that sounds like, listen to Boston, More Than a Feeling, because that entire track does this technique, and it does it pretty well. Your punch, that adds a bit of louder attack. It's more of a click, kind of. It's like a harsh kind of transient, and then it mixes it down. Right. Noise adds a bit of noise, basically. You can adjust the color. For a lead like this, I would have the noise slightly down. And that sounds all well and good. Saturation, doing nothing. How the virus models work is there's the volume. Right, and it goes up to 0, right, full volume, quote unquote full volume, and then once you get past that, you get into the saturation. But there's nothing. Say if you recorded, it's called tape saturation. Say if you recorded to a cassette and you recorded it really loud, the cassette kind of have enough headroom, but you get a lot of saturation if you've ever done that. If you ever recorded something onto that kind of medium and it was really loud, that's what saturation is. But we don't have any saturation selected. You can choose what kind of saturation you like, and yeah, that's enough for this video, and onwards.